It's time for another daily drop here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. And if you are watching us on our fast-growing YouTube channel, that is called Tar Heel Illustrated. I am THI publisher Andrew Jones. And as a reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at Heel Illustrated. We got a ton of stuff over on Facebook, Tar Heel Illustrated. And of course, you could be a premium subscriber of our site, become a Carolina Tar Heel insider for just $8.33 a month. Go on over there. Not only do you get all of our intel, and we post a ton of stuff on the boards that no one ever sees otherwise, you also get to hang out in a community of people like you, people that are diehards, people that are knowledgeable. So the conversations are on that level, not some of the junk you see elsewhere. So go on over there, become a member of our community. You won't regret it. Also, I just want to remind everybody also that this show is sponsored by BetterHelp, our friends over there at BetterHelp. We will have a message from them a little bit later here in today's drop. So this is part 2 of a 3-part series that we started yesterday. I decided I wanted to do on the drops what I do every year anyway, and that's break a schedule down. So I've broken North Carolina's football schedule down, and basically I'm looking at it in 3 segments. So in the first drop in this series, I talked about the first 4 games versus South Carolina and Charlotte, home against App State, home against Minnesota, and at Pittsburgh. Those occur before the open date. So that was a natural ending point there. So I discussed the importance of those. If you haven't heard that one yet or watched that one yet, go on over and check it out. This is the second segment of the schedule. It's a 6-game stretch. The Tar Heels have an open date at the end of September. And then they go into a stretch where they play 5 out of 6 weekends at home. They have Syracuse, Miami, Virginia at home, at Georgia Tech, Campbell, and Duke at home. This is an interesting period for this team to have an opportunity, if it starts out well, to really get into overdrive. Or if the Tar Heels struggle, let's say they're 2-2 coming out of the open date. This gives them an opportunity to get really healthy, get really well, get some wins, build some confidence for 2 final games of the season that will be in the third part of this series, 2 crucial games on the road. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Regardless of whatever their record is after the first 4, Syracuse is going to be an important game because it's going to be a running quarterback they have to prepare for in Garrett Schrader. And running quarterbacks have historically given North Carolina problems. It'll also be coming off an open date. It'll be a test for this team. If they're 4-0, how do they go into a game against a Syracuse team that we don't know what they're going to be like? They got off to a hot start last year and then fell apart. You know, historically, Syracuse hadn't been that good the last decade or so. If the Orange are struggling a little bit, how much do they get Carolina's attention? Sometimes in a schedule, games that don't pop out at you that much, or sometimes games that teams have a tough time getting up for. People may ask, they play 12 times. How can you possibly not be up for a game? But it happens. It's human nature. It happens all the time. I submit Georgia Tech last season as Exhibit A for North Carolina football in the most recent example. So it can happen. The Tar Heels will be challenged about getting up for that game, and Syracuse won't be awful. So it'll be a decent team coming in and an opportunity for the Tar Heels to either continue a really good start to the season and Drake May in his quest for the Heisman, or an opportunity to begin again, to start generating traction if the Heels struggle or even lose at Pittsburgh. The following week, Miami comes in. I don't care what Miami's record is. It's always big when Miami's in town. When the U runs out of the tunnel, people get excited. They always draw well on the road. And this is a team that nobody has any idea what they're going to be about. They could be really, really good. Mayo Cristobal could have learned so much last year. And with all the guys they brought in from the portal, they could be ready to roll on out and have a big-time season because there's a lot of talent down there. Or it could be more of the same. We have no idea. I think if you kind of meet somewhere in the middle there, which means Miami could be an 8-win type team, then I think that's probably the best, fairest expectation to have for the Hurricanes. So that club comes in the middle of October. It'll be a challenge for the Tar Heels, but Carolina has Miami's number of late. And I think this Carolina team, even if Miami is much better than expectations suggest, this Carolina team at home should have no problem beating Miami. It might be physical. It might be a game that hangs in the balance for a while, but this team ultimately should win that game. So they should win these first 2 games of the 6-game stretch that I'm discussing here in part 2 of this series. The next one is at home against Virginia. It's conceivable Virginia's the worst team in the ACC this year. It's probably likely. I know a lot of people picked the Wahoos to finish last. Again, this will be a mental challenge game, but it's also Virginia. It's also the oldest rivalry in the South. I do think that Virginia gets these players' attention somewhat. And even if the Wahoos are really, really down, I think the Tar Heels will be ready and take care of business. So you're looking at, after playing at Pitt, Carolina goes 4 straight weeks without being on the road. They have an open date, Syracuse at home, Miami at home, and Virginia at home. So this team ought to be rested. It all has some traction under it. Even if it struggles early, it should be no worse than 5-2, probably 6-1, and very possibly 7-0 before they hit the back part of this 6-game stretch. And I'll get into that in just a moment. But first, let's hear a word from our friends over at BetterHelp.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. So whether it's dealing with, decisions around your career, maybe your relationship, or anything else, whatever it may be, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement and trusting yourself to make these decisions that align with your values. Is like anything. The more you practice it, the better and easier it gets. I know for me, sometimes as somebody who uses therapy, that sometimes talking things through with someone is just incredibly helpful. And we can all get in our own heads a little bit too much sometimes. And getting out of that by getting feedback from a licensed and trained professional can bring a ton of clarity to your life. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, guys, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule, which is just so huge in my opinion, because convenience is just so big in today's world. And with BetterHelp, you can do everything online. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THI to get 10% off your first month. Again, that's betterhelp.com/THI to get 10% off your first month. Links in the description below. Back to the show.
Thank you again from our friends over at BetterHelp. We really appreciate them continuing to sponsor us here at Tar Heel Illustrated. Okay, the back 3 of this 6-game stretch on the road to Georgia Tech. It's probably not going to get a lot of attention of fans in the sense that, boy, that's a tough game. But what happened 2 years ago when Carolina went down to Atlanta? They got throttled. That was a pitiful performance. And then last year, they had another pitiful performance at home. They opened up a 17-0 lead. They fell apart. They took their foot off the pedal, and they lost a game, an embarrassing game at 9-1 and ranked 13th in the country, with Drake getting all kinds of Heisman talk, with the team getting a little bit of CFP talk, and they just fell off a cliff, and they didn't recover. They never recovered from that. They ended up losing NC State at home, and I'm getting pounded by Clemson in the bowl game, and they found a way to lose to Oregon in the bowl game. You had missed field goals that were costly against State and Oregon. Otherwise, it could have finished 2-2, and people wouldn't look so much at the Georgia Tech game like it fueled this collapse. But it did. So that's a dangerous game. Some people believe Georgia Tech's going to be much improved this year with the whole new coaching situation with Brent Key. When he took over last year, they started to play better. They looked a little bit more organized. And he was the head coach, the interim coach / head coach when the Yellow Jackets rolled in to Keenan and beat the Tar Heels. Then they come home and play Campbell. No disrespect to Campbell at all. I love their stadium. It's small. The juxtaposition of a team that plays in that stadium and a team that plays in Kansas Stadium, those two teams should never play. In an era when college football, everyone's about consolidating and the biggest should play the biggest, I don't think these FCS games should happen. It's not the responsibility of Power 5 teams to fund FCS programs by giving them big checks to come in and serve as cannon fodder. Again, no disrespect to Campbell at all. None whatsoever. But North Carolina shouldn't play Campbell in football. I don't think North Carolina or any ACC team should play any FCS teams. You want to improve the TV deal? Don't play those games. You want to improve how people view you? You're better off playing someone from the Sun Belt, someone from the MAC. I know it's more challenging, but if you're worth your salt, you're going to win those games anyway. But this will at least be an opportunity to see Connor Harrell. Look forward to that. Be an opportunity to see Tad Hudson and maybe even some Jefferson Boaz, who right now is running third ahead of Tad Hudson in that quarterback room. And finally, the sixth game on this list, at home again, against a pretty good Duke team, a team that a lot of people are throwing a lot of love on right now, putting a lot of love on Riley Leonard and the Blue Devils. And I can understand why. They won 9 games a year ago. They have a tough schedule. They might not win 9 this year, might be a better team. And it's going to be physical. Blue Devils are going to sling it around. They're going to be physical with the Tar Heels. These have been largely competitive games of late. So it's going to be an opportunity for North Carolina to play a rivalry game in November, the week before an enormous game, so we can gauge the Tar Heels' ability to focus on the task at hand and not look ahead. Sometimes looking ahead has been an issue. Perhaps it's good that Duke is in that spot and not a trip to Georgia Tech or Virginia or Miami at home, because Duke should get the Tar Heels' attention. But what it is also, it's the 5th game at home out of a 6-game stretch. And it's an opportunity for the Tar Heels, quite frankly, to win 6 in a row. They should win all 6 of these games. I do think Miami could be a challenge. Georgia Tech could be dangerous. Duke could be a challenge. But they should win all 6 of these games, setting up the final 2, which I'll talk about tomorrow. So if they're 4-0 out of the gate, or even 3-1, and then they go win 6 in a row, 3-1 means what? 9-1. Right back where they were a year ago. How would they finish? We'll see. Thanks for stopping by, guys. And make sure you like this video. Click like, click notifications. You get updates whenever we upload. Share it. Let your Carolina Tar Heel friends know that we are out here pumping out videos left, right, and center. And, of course, our site, tarheelillustrated.com. For just $8.33, you can be an insider, too, and hang out in an outstanding community of passionate Tar Heel fans. I'm AJ. We'll see you tomorrow.